see. Doot, doot, doot. Hello, everybody. Sorry, I am late. Today I'm a bit of a hot mess. So give me 1 second and let me find the chat. Let's see if I have everything working correctly. So give me just a second. Da-da-da, I see it. All right, let me copy this and open it. Let me go post this in the Facebook group real quick too. So I hope everyone is having a great Friday. I'm a hot mess today, as y'all can see. I'm not ready for today. We went to the zoo. We took the kids to the zoo. They had the day off of school. I am exhausted, absolutely exhausted. So I'm glad tonight is more of a sit down and chat, and we're going to talk all about everything Embrilliance. So it is going to be fun, but give me just a second to post this in the group. So hopefully all of y'all are here now, and now let me go look in the chat. Hi. I'm sorry, I'm late. I see Con. Let me turn my sound off. Okay. I see Deanna and Michelle and Donabelle's Dash and Stacy and Karen and Deborah. Diana, Chantel. Happy Friday. I'm glad to see all of y'all here. So, quick introduction. Hi, my name is Carly Bell, and I love to talk and craft with machine embroidery. It's my favorite thing. I'm a little bit obsessed with it. I have a crafting problem, period, but I think embroidery is kind of at the top of my list. And I like to get together with all of y'all every Friday night for a little something we call sip and stitch. And I am, this is a bad term, but double fisting. I have coffee and I have my drink that I haven't opened yet. And I think I'm going to stick to my coffee right now. So, hi, Wolf guys. Oh, you like my board? My husband and I built this a few years ago. It's just a pegboard from Lowe's, and I painted it my pink. And then we bought some, this is just like door molding, and then he just cut the edges. I didn't do a job. I'm supposed to like caulk it and fill in the spots where he nailed it to the board. I haven't done that, so, but it's a really great board, and it's comes in very handy for, I have my hoops, my scissors, my masking tape, lots of little supplies on there. Hi Carol, hi Brenda. Thanks so much to Carol, Brenda, and Con for helping me moderate whenever we have live sip and stitches. So, all right. So I'm excited for tonight. I have to admit though, I have a list of things to go over from the suggestions on Facebook. And I had a few people, I think, email me with questions, but I'm going to try to just open, we're talking all about Embrilliance Embroidery software tonight. And let's see, are y'all having any buffering problems? Let me know. I think I have everything set up right, so no telling though, sometimes my internet is just funny. But my kids are not home sucking up all of the internet with their iPads and phones and everything, so they're not hogging the internet like they usually do and slow it down. Hi, Tina. Okay, everything's fine. Good. Yay. All right. So I feel a little short at my table now. So I'm sitting on my bar stool, and when I stand, then I have a little bit more room. But I'm sitting tonight because I am tired. So sorry if I feel a little short right here. We raised the table. It's a smidge, like probably 3 or 4 inches taller now. It was at a standard counter height before at 36 inches, but we added some wood to the bottom and some wheels so that I could move my table around, and it kind of works like a craft table island. And doing that makes it a little bit taller now. So when I sit at it, it feels a little bit funny. Okay. All right. So tonight we're talking all about embroidery software. Now, a lot of times when people mention, you know, what should I get? They say Embrilliance. Now, it, it gets a little confusing. Embrilliance is the company. They make all the programs that we're going to talk about tonight. So think of Embrilliance as the brand name, right? The products that they make, the programs that they make that I use and I love are Essentials, which is my number one recommendation. Then another editing software is called Enthusiast. They have a digitizing software called Stitch Artist. And then they have a totally different kind of program that works with your computer so that you can preview your embroidery files before you open them, and that's called Thumbnailer. So those are the 4 programs that Embrilliance makes that we're going to go over tonight. So, Fabulous is her first sip and stitch. Yay! I'm excited you're here with us live. Okay. All right, and Trinette too is her first live. Thank you for joining us. Hi, Kathy. Okay, so I did not set this up well. I wanted to have something a little bit different for tonight, but what I'm going to be doing is I'll be sharing my screen with you so that you can see my computer, and we're going to go over some of the basics, and then I'm going to try and go through the list of questions that was posted on Facebook of specific things that people wanted me to go over. So if there's anything that I don't go over tonight that, you know, and I'll be answering questions in the chat as well. But if you are watching the replay and if there's anything that I don't go over, please leave those questions in the comments below so that I can either try and answer you in the comment, or the next time we do a live Embrilliance tutorial, we can cover those topics as well. So a couple other things I think I wanted to mention before we start is if you are not already subscribed to my email newsletter, I have a link for that down in the description box below. That's a newsletter I send every week telling you what's going on, either talk about things here in my craft room, things going on in the Facebook group, and also updating you on what the next sip and stitch will be. So there's a link for that. Also, the Facebook group I just mentioned, if you're not already a member, please come join us. I have a link for that down below. And lastly, the last time we talked, I mentioned to y'all a new wholesale blank kind of buy-in that I've started with my friend Ashley. I forgot to put the website for that down below. I will add it to the description box after, but I believe she is keeping orders open until 8 Central tonight. So the website is crownmonograms.com, and I'll put it in the chat box for y'all watching live. Let's see if I spell it right. She is doing an order. She's closing an order tonight at 8 p.m. Central. So if there were anything that you were interested in buying, and I think she has a special announcement tomorrow with some new of the kids' boutique clothes items. We found a new vendor for that. So we'll be announcing that more. So that's all these things are why you want to be in the Facebook group, so you could stay up to date on those things that are happening. So I think that was all the announcements I wanted to make. I can tell you that the next Sip and Stitch, I think, is April 16th. We will be doing a project on the PE 770 using what's called an embroidery riser. So that's going to be a fun project, showing you the benefits of getting an embroidery riser. Let me make sure I'm telling you the right date. Yeah, the 16th. Okay, so now I think I'm done with all of my announcements. Sorry, I'm so scatterbrained tonight, guys. But, all right, let's see. Now I'm going to share my screen. It's going to look a little crazy for a second. And then also, I am very, very guilty of having like everything open. So y'all are going to see how much of a hot mess I am with my computer, because you're going to see 50 things opened at the bottom of the screen. But main thing, focus on the Embrilliance software screen. All right, so let's switch over to that. And we can minimize this and minimize this. Okay, so now you should be seeing my Embrilliance software screen, and what I have open right now is a birthday shirt I made the other night. So I can tell you a little bit about that. But first, let's go over the different programs and how it works once, like, you get out. Let's see, let me start over. The main program I suggest that you purchase, and I'm sorry, let me pull up the chat on my phone real quick, because I realize now when I'm sharing my screen I can't see y'all anymore and your questions. So the program I always tell everyone to get to start off with is Essentials. And when you have Essentials, it's going to look like this, but I have some extra icons up here. So one of the cool things about the Embrilliance platform is that, yes, they have Essentials, they have Enthusiast, they have Stitch Artists, but they're not all separate programs. They all intertwine and work together. So I started off, I only purchased Essentials. And then when I added on, I think I added on Stitch Artist next, I got this icon here, Create. That wasn't there before. That came up after I purchased Stitch Artist and I entered my serial number. So here you see serial numbers. When you click that, when you purchase a new program, that's how you add it to the software you already have. And then I got this icon came up. And now this gives me all of these creation mode to create stitches. Then the third program I got after that was Enthusiast. And when I got Enthusiast, then I got this icon. This allows me to select individual stitches. So if you only have Essentials right now, you'll notice I have, I think this one, and this one are maybe icons that you do not have. Okay. So I just wanted to make sure everyone understood and wouldn't be confused if my screen looks a little bit different than theirs. All right. So, okay. And then some other things that vary with the programs is the functions up here in utility. And then when you have Stitch Artist, when you click that, you'll see the create button come up. So you get some more options there. So that's how the program works if you have multiple things with the Embrilliance platform. They're all going to go in this one screen. They all work together and you just get more abilities as you add on more programs. So let's see. I see some questions coming in already. But let me go over some of just the essentials of Essentials real quick. So the whole reason why you want embroidery software is from me personally, when I started, I wanted embroidery software for this picture right here. All right. I purchased this Paw Patrol design. I purchased it from Appliques with Character because a friend of ours' grandson had his second birthday, was either yesterday or today, and they wanted a Paw Patrol birthday shirt for him. So I purchased this design by itself, but they wanted his name underneath it. And for me to do that on my machine is the most tedious thing in the world, depending on what kind of machine you have. On the PE 770, it's not even possible. Like, I'd have to stitch that out, and then I'd have to import one letter at a time and hope that I get the placement right. If you have the PE 800, you do have the ability to merge, but again, getting the placement just right. But with an Essentials, I can, let me delete this. So when I open this design, it looks like this. And one of the things that's great about Essentials, one of the many things, is what's called BX fonts. And that is this little A icon up here. And you see how this ABC appeared? So I'm gonna drag this down. And let me click it and see over here is your text box. And this is gonna tell you, this is where you write your name. So I'll write Patrick, enter. And then you can pick your font. when you get Essentials, it comes with, I think, 11 fonts. Everything that you see here in purple, all of these came with Essentials. All the rest, and all the blues and the greens and all the different colors, are fonts that I purchased online from all my favorite places. I got Creative Applique, I got Applique Market, a lot of Creative Applique. This is from Applique Corner. Designs by Juju is a great place to get fonts. Embroidery Boutique, Jolston's Designs, Joy Kate Designs, all that good stuff. And then these purple ones again are the ones that came, this one too, the stencil one, came with Essentials. So, and we'll go over a little bit more about BX fonts in a minute, but I just wanted to explain why it's so helpful to have software, is to do little things like this, where I can have a name, I can make sure it's centered right underneath the design. I could save that and go straight to my machine with it. Okay. I'm looking at questions now. I'm sorry, I don't know what's the best thing to do for tonight, because I kind of had in mind of going through the basics and going like what each icon does and what's the purpose of things, but then I see so many questions rolling in. I don't know if I should just go ahead and jump in and answer questions. What would y'all like? So like, for example, Diana says, when creating a mock-up, I see where you can remove the grid, but is there a way to change the color of the background to take a screenshot of the image? So, oh, thank you, Carol. Okay, Carol's saying go through the basics and I can get the questions after. Okay, just to answer Diana's, well, maybe I'll come back to Diana's question. I have a way for you to take a screenshot of this, but what I haven't figured out is I think it's because I have Stitch Artist that I have the ability to do it. I don't think it's an option that you can do in Essentials, because I've talked to other people and I was like, go to Utility and click Save Image. And they're telling me they don't have that option. I think that was something I got after I added Stitch Artist, because here I could save this and it will have a transparent background. And so then it will look just the design with no grid and no hoop. But I'll have to play around with it and figure out how you could do better mock-ups. Okay, thank you, Carol. I appreciate you starting at the beginning. Okay, so, but does that make sense, like why embroidery? That's like one of the first reasons people want software, is they want, and this is called merging designs. You bought a design, you want to merge a name with it and make one final design that you send to your machine. Okay, another option would be if you had, so I bought this file, it already had the 2 in it. But say I had a whole applique number set I got. You know, like I have some, so let's go new. And font. I think you saw them here. So here, this is a big applique set. I think it might have numbers. Let me check. Yes. So say I had, this is an applique number, and then I wanted to merge in whatever design, whether I had a puppy or a mermaid or whatever the kid's birthday theme was. I wanted to merge that in and add a name underneath. Like, these are common things that I wanted to do when I started. So here's my applique number. Now I want to merge a name in. There's several ways, a design here. There's several ways to do that. The first way would be to use the merge icon at the top up here. So we can click that, and I can go to my embroidery files here, and let's see, I have characters. Let's see, I have, those are probably too big. Let's go girls. Here's a little mermaid, here we go. And we can pick a 4x4 mermaid. And look, so we're gonna get into thumbnailer after, but this is that thumbnailer working, or that's the program? But that's what's gonna happen. I can see that mermaid before I open it. That's the purpose of having thumbnailer. So let's import that. So I could put that here. I could either have it covering up the 2 a little bit, or I could have it totally next to it depending on what size hoop you're working in your designs. So we can, move this. We can make sure, I have some features to, like if you want to make sure that the mermaid is in the center, like this line here, they're centered, you can do that. And then you can add a name to the bottom. So say we wanted Abigail, and then I would pick a new font. Let's see, Twinkle Star is like my favorite font. Oh, I didn't do it. All right, and this is not the number, this is not the style of number 2 I would normally do for this, but that's how I would do something like that. So, hi Amber. Ladybug. Oh, that's a good idea too. Okay. So those are some of the reasons why you would want software, is so that you can merge all these things together, make one file, and send it to your program. So that's just covering why you would maybe want software right when you're starting off the bat. And then once you see all the things that the software can do, you'll realize the more and more and different way, the more and more you use it and want it, and all the different things that you could do with it. So now let's kind of back up and go over all of the icons and features, and I'm going to try and stick to what is just in Essentials. So here we have all our basic things up here. We have create a new design, open an existing design, save what you're working on. If you want to print, when you print something, it's going to not only print this out true to size on your sheet of paper, because this hoop I have selected here, you could see the hoop size down here. It's about 8 by 8. This is my hoop I always use for my brother persona. And I have a mighty hoop that's 8 by 9, so it's a common hoop for me. But when I print this, it's going to be true to size. It's just what it be when it's stitched out on the shirt. So you can use that for placement. It's also going to print out the color steps, which is over here. We're going to go over that in a minute and tell you like what each step is and what color it's programmed in right now. So that's print is really helpful. Then we have copy and paste. If you want to undo or redo, this is to look at the stitches in 3D. So here is not 3D, and now it is 3D, so you could see the difference. Like I'm going to zoom in right here on the mermaid. So now it's just the line showing where the stitches will be, and now it actually looks like thread. So that's the 3D button. The next button I believe is density, and this is a feature that came with Stitch Artist, I believe, and that's going to show how dense the design is, in case you were ever worried about the density of a design before you stitch it. Okay. Then we have a magnifying tool. If you wanted to zoom in on an area, you can do that. I zoom in and out panning, and I'm going to show you how to change that. I am panning with 2 fingers on my mouse pad, going in and out, and it zooms in and out, and then it moves around the design. We have a ruler in case you wanted to measure, like if I really needed to know how long this name is, I could use this to kind of get an idea. And I lost where it is. Where does it show up at? I think down in that bottom left corner, it's showing me it's about 4 5/8 inch. Or I can draw a box around it. No, I can't do that. Yeah, that's what it's showing me. If you see, I'm looking down here when I'm doing that ruler. Then we have, this is the Stitch Simulator. This is a really cool feature. If you're ever curious about how this is actually going to stitch out, the Stitch Simulator is this button here. And when you click that, we have, you can go backwards, you can pause, you can play and watch it like a movie. So now it's just going to slowly go, and you can increase the speed or slow down the speed to watch it. I tend to just click this and drag it. Right, so we see all of that. And this feature is super helpful for if you only have essentials. There's some things in here that kind of lets you edit a little. It can be a powerful editing tool if you need it to be. And we'll go over some of those things after a while, once we get through, you know, just the basics. So that is the stitch simulator. Then this is just our selection tool. This is what I always come back to, like if I'm playing in other features, but I just want to go back to being able to select something and move it, you want to be in this tool. And this gives you boxes and tells you different things. So I have the mermaid selected. It's telling me, I chose inches. It's telling me that she is 3 inches wide and 3 5/16 tall, 100%. This is the design as the digitizer made it, and I opened it in my computer. It is 100% what the digitizer made it. One of the other great features of having essentials, and this is very specific to essentials, because a lot of people tell me, well, can I just buy Enthusiast or can I just buy Stitch Artist? You can, but if you don't have essentials, you will not be able to resize this design if I wanted to. Okay, say I wanted to make it all smaller. Say all of this was going, you know, on might be a small 2-year-old. So they wanted it on an 18-month-old shirt, 18-month size shirt. And you couldn't have that big of a design. You would want to resize it a little bit. You'd want to make her smaller. So now she's no longer 100%, she's 81%. And you see we shrunk her down to almost 2.5 inches tall and a little over 3 inches wide. So when you resize Embrilliance, and I'm going to zoom in, especially Embrilliance does a really great job depending on what kind of design it is. But with these satin stitches, and if it's digitized well from a reputable designer, and what I mean by that is people you know of that have full-on websites of their own, have a following, you've bought from them before, they stitch out well, that you'll be able to resize these slightly. My rule of thumb for resizing is no less or more than 20% of the original size. So the original size is 100%, and I went down to 80, 81. So I would go down, 80 would be the most I would go down. If I wanted to make her bigger, 120 would be the biggest I would do. And Lenny Penny is the designer for this, and they have excellent designs. So I probably could go bigger, but I would definitely do a test stitch, because once you get so big, then look right here. See some of this filling if I zoom in? See how it's getting stretched out? So that's where it's going to mess up when you resize. But if I put her back to 100, you'll see, you know, those mistakes are not there. Her fill stitch for her body is all full, all fine, and no gaps. If I make her extremely small, the problem here is that it's going to be way too dense when you're stitching, because you shrunk the design so much that the density is going to be, let's see if I could see it. See all these red areas? That is going to be too dense, I think. I forget what the scale is. I want to say red is too much. So that's going to cause problems with puckering and issues with how it stitches out. So resizing, really big feature of essentials, one of the most important ones. Okay, I'm just checking the chat real quick. So what's next? This is a super important icon. You need something, babe? My husband's being stupid. Okay, I put Abigail's bag by the front door. Love you, bye. Okay. The next icon is super important. This is called your preference window. And this is where we do a lot of things, but the thing I do the most in this window is select my hoop size. So here I have hoops, and I have mostly Brother machines, but if you have a different brand machine, like, to be honest, I haven't even played with this before. So I have a Ricoma, and Ricoma has DST, and there's only 2 here anyway. I use PES for everything. And then we'll go into this in Enthusiast, but you can create more. So under PES, these are going to be all your super common hoop sizes. And I know these are all in millimeter, which tend to throw people off. But if you are like, I don't even know what size this is, 300 by 100 millimeter. But if I look right here, or approximately 12 by 4 inches, because most of the hoops that we use are 4 by 4 or 5 by 7, 6 by 10, 7 by 12, or 7 by 11, 8 by 12, and so on. And if you're not familiar with conversion of millimeters, you can click it and then look, or approximately 4 by 4. So this is a 4 by 4 hoop. And if that's what I wanted to use for this design, I would hit apply. And then I can hit OK. And now you can see my design is too big for my hoop. But say this was going on an 18th month shirt, I wouldn't use a 4 by 4, I would use a 5 by 7. So now I would click this one, 130 by 180, or approximately 5 by 7, hit apply, and OK. And now you can see this would fit in a 5 by 7 hoop nicely. So other things in this window are, so you can look at all these hoops, find which ones work for you. If it really bothers you and it takes you too long to see that this is your hoop you use all the time, and you want to make it more obvious that it's 5 by 7, you can edit the name. So click edit, change the name to 5 by 7. Okay. Now it's going to say 5 by 7. So you can do that if you wanted with all of your very common hoops, so that they stand out more to you, and it's quicker for you to find them when you're scrolling down and trying to select. If you have a 4 by 4 machine, Brother machine, like the SE600 or the PE535, or there's a bunch more, and you have a PE770 or PE800, you do have the option of a multi-position hoop. Now, if you only have essentials, you're only going to see this option and this option. This option is the multi-position hoop for the 4 by 4 machine, which is I think about 4 by 6 or 4 by 6.5 inches. Look, 4 by 7. If you have the PE800, this is the 5 by 12 hoop. And I have a whole YouTube video that tells you how to hoop, set it up in essentials, and stitch out using the multi-positionable hoop. So you can check that out on my channel. The reason why I have a ton more here is because I have Enthusiast. And when you have Enthusiast, you have some more options in this area. So, but I think that's all you need to know for hoops you can choose from here. Grid settings. I have lines, and I have them in 1-inch squares. And you can pick your background. The background color is a little bit yellow. If I wanted it to be pure white, I think I could move it here, but I'm not going to mess with it right now. Let me close that. Okay. You can make things snap to grid. That's not something really I've played with. All right, then calibrate screen. I haven't messed with this either, but that's just to make sure that the squares are really showing to be 1 inch, but I mean, that all depends on what zoom you're at, but you can calibrate it until this line is 2 inches long. Okay, mouse wheel. This is what we were talking about. So how I was zooming in. So if you have a real mouse that has a little roller thing in the middle, That's called panning. No, this is the scroll, right? The mouse wheel. When you roll that, you can zoom and pan, or you can, choose what works best for you. This is my favorite option. Okay. It automatically checks for updates. I do not know what ghost mode is. Automatically save documents and then you can move this if you are working on stuff and you want it to automatically save. I don't have that set. Okay, jumps and overlaps. This we'll talk about in a minute, but one of the cool things about Essentials and also Enthusiast and Stitch Artist is it will remove overlapping stitches automatically when you save the stitch files. And then this is another important feature when we'll talk about appliques. You want to treat an applique position object as a filled object. And this has to do with removing stitches underneath it. If you have an applique that went over some stitches, you don't want the stitches that would be behind the applique to still stitch out. You'd want those to be deleted. And ensure ties around surrounding jumps. These are for jump stitches. You can adjust that you don't jump when they are small, and you could do a run instead, but I don't like that. Conversions. I have everything where it's automatically saved as a PES file, and then I just change it to DST when I'm working on my Ricoma. And this is for printing. I haven't messed with any of this, and that's it. So the main things you want to play around with here are hoops, and I tell other people, if you want to play with your mouse wheel, and you want to make sure these two buttons are checked. Okay, so I hope all of that makes sense. Ooh, all right, Carol says we have 12 saved questions. All right, we can jump into questions now. Oh, you see, I did change some things on accident here. All right, so go to undo. Nope, I changed them in here. I don't like that color. I gotta change that now. What did I do? I need my yellow back. There we go. That's a little too yellow, but oh well. And let me go back to my 5x7 hoop. And let me zoom in. Okay. I'm gonna have to find my yellow. Okay. Doot, doot, doot. All right, I am ready for the first 12 questions if y'all want to pause here now that we've gone over most of the icons at the top. Do you want one from me, or are you still following your plan? I'll take let's go over the first 5 questions now. And I think let's go over questions that have to do with Essentials. Let's save any questions about Enthusiast or Stitch Artist until we get to going over those programs. Okay, Julie says she has some BX fonts that start stitching in the middle, so the letters like O have a stitch starting in the middle. How can I fix this temporarily? I know exactly what you're talking about. I hate when that happens. Yeah, so let's talk. Okay, yeah, let's make a thing to help Carol, because I know this is going to get overwhelming. Right now in the chat, let's only post questions that are specific to Essentials. Okay, that's going to be BX fonts and essential features like merging and resizing, changing colors, steps, all those things. So if you have those kind of questions, just keep those in the chat now and save your other questions if it's specific to Enthusiast, Stitch Artist, or Thumbnailer. Save it when we get to that portion of the talk. How about that? If that is helpful. Okay, so we were talking about, I have this happen sometimes, and there are fonts. Where did I get those fonts from? They are from, I think I did like one of those Embroidery super deal fonts where it came like with a whole bundle of fonts, and Anyway, what happens is like, say for this B, for instance, I zoom in on this B. On one of those fonts, it'll start stitching here, and then it'll jump, and it'll stitch. And that jump stitch in the middle there is super aggravating. And this is going to be a feature that will be helpful for a lot of things, and it has to do with the stitch simulator. Let me see if I can, it might take me longer to find one of those fonts for you, rather than, let's use the I, for instance, because we have this jump stitch here. Normally, I would not care about this jump stitch, but let's pretend it's one of those aggravating ones that's way away from the letter and looks bad, and we want to get rid of it. So that would be what we call creating a color stop. And what we're going to do is we're going to find the spot where it stops stitching here and it jumps here. We're going to find that exact spot. And what we would do is we would change the color. So this is all stitching in blue. We'll change that color to red. So it'll look like a red line going from the dot of the I to the bottom of the I. All right, so I'm going to go to Stitch Simulator. I'm going to drag my icon. We're all the way at the last end of the blue. So I'm going to keep going. Oh, there goes the B. Oh, and there's the I, and we already see the jump. So there's that. It's too hard to drag it, so right here goes one jump at a time. So that was the jump right there, wasn't it? This is the jump there. So do I want to put a stop there or a stop here? I think a stop. So this is a little stop sign. Boom. We're going to change that. Is that what I want to do? Let's see if this works. We'll change it to green. I don't know if that worked. Okay. Now let's go here. Okay, so everything was blue. Yeah. So now it jumped here. It doesn't have that stitch anymore. Now it's stitching all the I. And I'm just pressing the button until it fills the I. Now it jumped. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to hit stop again. And I'll change it back to the blue. Okay. Now I don't have those jumps anymore because I created those two stops where it was no longer going between the two. So that's kind of what you would do in that when they have those weird starts here. Create a stop right when it gets to this point here, and then you can go and erase that. So now that this is a different color, you'll see that is a section by itself, the I is a section by itself, and the rest of the letters are a section by itself. And now if I wanted to, I could delete that I, and it's not there no more. So that's how you can delete something you don't want there using the Stitch Simulator. This is going to take forever, right? I could see this now. I've only answered one question. Okay. Just poured a, so Candy just poured a sip of this. I think it's time to open up my drink now, Candy. I'm still drinking my coffee. All right. Diana. Creating a mock-up. I see where you can remove the grid, but is there a way to change the color? So we kind of went over that. You can change the color by the preference window, grid, settings, and change the background. So you can do that, okay? Donna Bell. Carly, how could we merge a BX font to Embrilliance Essentials? So when you have a BX font, you don't need to merge it, you need to install it, okay? And there's a super duper simple way to install BX fonts. So let me pull up my stuff. This is my embroidery. Where's my embroidery? Here. And let me do this. Okay, so these are all my embroidery files. I have them organized by categories, okay? So I have alphabets, boys, I have one for BX fonts. So these are all my BX fonts here. Now I already have all these installed, but it's not going to hurt for me to just do it again. It won't install it twice, but these are all the BX files. The easiest thing is to highlight all of them. Okay, so now only these BX fonts here. And you see when you buy a BX font, you get one file for each size. So this font comes all the way in 1/2 inch up to 4 inches. And all I would do is drag this and drop it into Embrilliance. And you see that 9? I'm installing 9 files. And it's going to say all of these are installed. And I hit OK. And once you do that, those fonts should now pop up in this list here. So that's how you can find, I think it was this was the one I was just playing with. All those fonts are on this list now, and they're all still separated in size. Okay, so that's how you install a BX font. So you don't have to merge it. You could just open up your Mermaid or your Paw Patrol, hit this icon, add your letters, and be done. Okay, I'm trying to move a little quicker. Okay, how would you save the new design that I just made? Okay, so let's go over saving. There's 2 different ways that you can save. So we hit File. There's 2 types of files you can save. You can save a working file, or you can save a stitch file. A working file is specific to Embrilliance, so that when you would not be able to open it on any machine. The file is called a BE file, .be. And that is just so that I can open it again later. So that's the save working file as. The 2 buttons I press the most are save working file as or save stitch file as. So if it's something I'm in the middle of and I'm not done with, but it's a good habit to always save, and then look up here. You have save as, stitch, and working. Okay, so that's if I may want to come back later and I made adjustments, I would still be able to do it. When you save a stitch file, you cannot edit it really after. All the elements of the design, so let's say this one for instance. Right now we have 1, 2, 3 elements to this design. When we would save this as a stitch file, it becomes one element. You would not be able to separate the 2 from the mermaid if you wanted to move the position a little bit or move the name a little bit. It's all going to be, in a sense, merged together, right? When I would save this as a working file or a BE file, then I can come and I still have these 3 different elements, and I could, play with them accordingly. So that is how you would do it. So the best practice is probably to do a save as, stitch, and working. And when you do that, this window pops up. You can save what you want it to be as, where you want it, and the stitch part of the file, what do you want to save it as, a PES or whatever brand machine you have, whatever files it takes, you pick that. And then it's going to save the both BE working file and the PES stitch file. So I hope that answers your question. Okay. Do they have any plans to make it where we can use Embrilliance on a tablet or iPad? I really don't think so, Dana. They have a program called Air Stitch that they rolled out for iPad, but it really, all it allows you to do is view a file. It doesn't allow you to do anything else. I think it's something they want, but I think it's very complicated. It would be exciting to see them roll out with that, but I know like other software programs like Silhouette have tried doing an iPad feature for their program, and I think it's just not, they don't have the capabilities. Like, you need a real operating system. So I don't see that happening anytime soon, but I agree it would be nice. Carol, question 9. Kayla, how do you know where to place the design on Embrilliance and it would be correctly in the hoop? So first, Kayla, you want to take into consideration the size item you're stitching and what hoop you're going to use. So like we're saying, this is going to be on an 18-month toddler shirt. I would use a 5x7 hoop, and I would choose embroidery designs that are going to fit inside that hoop. And then if I wanted to make sure everything was centered, I look at these black boxes around each item so I could see this box here. This is my center line for the hoop. So I could use the cursors on my computer or the mouse and try and get that right center. Okay. Now the 2 and the mermaid, if I wanted those to be centered with one another, I must either drag and select both. No, that didn't work. I'm going to select and hold command. Nope. Command. Maybe now. Okay, so now I have them both selected. And we have some alignment tools here. So align this way. Apply. So now they're centered in the middle here. And I can see that my black box here is pretty much centered on the hoop. I can maybe nudge it a little bit, but it's pretty much centered. So playing with looking at the boxes around each element and that they're on the hoop where you want it. And then I could select all the things in the hoop. There we go. And I could see if it's centered in the hoop this way. Another option is I can click this, center designs in the hoop. So now this is all centered in that hoop. So you can play around with all these alignment and center and hoop buttons to make sure that you have your placement in your hoop right. Barbara asks, do you have a font installed? Can it be renamed? Example, that is when you would need, you would not be able to do that with Essentials. That is a program that I have not purchased yet, but I think that's next on my list. It's called Alphatrix. Alphatrix allows you to rename and organize all of your BX fonts however you want. And it also allows you, if you've purchased, I think I'm saying this right, so don't hold it against me if I have it wrong. If you've purchased a font, but it only came in PES and did not come in BX, I want to say Alphatrix allows you to assign each letter a keystroke on your keyboard so that you can turn it into a BX font. So that's something we can look into, and that might be the next program I buy. All right. Carol, question 2. Monica says the create button comes up with Stitch Artist 1. Yes. So when we'll get to Stitch Artist, but yes, there are 3 different levels of Stitch Artist. You get this button, but Stitch Artist 1 doesn't have all of these buttons in here. I have level 3, so I have all the possible buttons. When you have level 1, you only have these, this little box, and like this little box. You don't have all of these, some of these options, some of these options. Those go up as you increase your level. Question 3 from Chantel. I combine or merge 2 patterns that are layered. Will Embrilliance remove the layered stitches? Yes, so we went over that in the preference window, that it will remove hidden stitches. There's also an icon here that says remove hidden stitches. So let's try, I'm going to show you an example of that. Okay, let's put that mermaid there. Okay, so what's going on here? The A is on top of the mermaid tail, and the L too. So now let's save this as a stitch file. So I'm going to just do mermaid. I'm going to save it as PES. I'm going to put it on my desktop so it's there. Save. Okay. So I saved it. It's only as a stitch file though. I can't edit it. So now I'm going to go to open. There it is right there. Open. All right, now see how it's all one element? I can't just select the mermaid. They're all together. But if I go to Stitch Simulator, let's get to the part with the mermaid tail. You see those holes? Look at that gap right there. You see all those little gaps? Let's zoom in. That is where it removed the hidden stitches, so that when it stitches the name, it's not going to be too dense and go over those areas twice. Okay, that's where it removed the hidden stitches. So we could finish her tail there. So that's it. That's what her tail is going to look like. Then it's going to stitch the lettering on top. Does that make sense? So it filled in those areas so you can't see them. Okay, so I'm scrolling down. We got a lot going on here. Okay, I think I'm at the bottom now. Okay, so I got through the essentials questions. Okay, so let's see. Carol, how are you? Are you overloaded? Tell me what's happening with you. Is it time to open my drink? Oh, don't even talk to me about fabric. I have ordered a ridiculous amount of, I've not even set foot in a fabric store, and I have ordered online a ridiculous amount of fabric. I'll have to show y'all, I'll put my camera back on in a little while and I'll show y'all the giant order I got from All Stitched Up by Angela. And I got my Miss Mac fabric I'm so excited about. Hi, Carol. It's okay, I was late too. All right, Carol Broom is not overloaded. Tell me, do y'all want me to keep answering questions, or would you like me to go back to some more of these icon features that we didn't get to yet? All right. So, features, please. Okay, Ladybug. Oh, Carol Spillman has it, drinking Bailey's and a decaf. I should have put some Bailey's in my coffee. Okay, great. I answered the questions. Good, good, good. Okay, so where were we? We were the preference window. Okay, so this one is Enthusiast. This one is Stitch Artist. This one is a library, and I've not really played with this too much. This, Embrilliance gives you some things for free in their library. I think I got some extra things when I got Enthusiast and Stitch Artist, so I don't know how many of these things come for free with Essentials. But these are frames, if you wanted to use any of them. Like this is cute for making an in the hoop ornament. We have applique shapes. So sometimes people are asking about creating their own applique. There are some options where you can make some for free right here within Essentials and not have to go buy, you know, if you just need a circle or a heart. The butterfly looks really cute, or a square, and then I'm sure you can, you know, manipulate this into a rectangle if you needed to. So there's some cute things here. I really like this floral ring. So that is the library. And then Embrilliance has on their website, sometimes like during Christmas, they have a whole Christmas library and you can purchase it. And when you would install it, I think this is where it would show up. Okay, so that is the library. Okay, we've gone over BX fonts some, so let's go over some more details about BX fonts. So every time you click this ABC is going to pop up, and you can drag it wherever you want. You can enter your letters that you want. You can change what font you want. So, you know, you can, let me back up. Okay, this is way too big. Let's do this. Okay, so you can do all that, but there's a lot more features in BX fonts that you can do, and it's really, really cool. I'm getting a text message about my kids. Okay, so here we go. We went over fonts. So now let's go over some of the cool things that you can do. You can change the style. So if I'd want my name to be vertical, so like sometimes when we do shirts, we like the name to go down the side of the applique right here. If I only typed in 3 letters and I wanted a cool monogram, you can do that. So that's really cool. And you could do it backwards. You could do however you want. If you wanted to have a shape, we have all of these features. So these are all things that you can play with. These are all really cool, and you can style your lettering to be however you would like. The order. Let's see. I think, to be honest, I don't know this. I think this has to do with this, maybe. I haven't played with this, so I'm just going to leave that on normal. But this is like the best way to learn this program is to click and play. Just click and play around with everything. Play around with all the features. Just import some stuff and move it around and play with it. Okay, then we can add a slant. So let's zoom in on my name here. It won't let me zoom in on here because the hoop is over there. All right, so I can put a slant, lean it. I could increase the spacing between the letters. I can make a curve. I can increase the peak like that and increase the peak on the bottom. So that's kind of the same as when we had this option here, but there's little things that you can play with like that to make the shape of the name really cool. So the other things I wanted to show you, if you wanted to do, like some people do a lines of text, like a recipe that they're going to stitch out on a dish towel, then you would want this feature clicked. And so then you can write several lines. So I could enter and then I can hit bell if I wanted, and then hit set. So now it goes underneath it. You can do if the words are centered or left adjusted, right adjusted. Again, play with this, the slant, the spacing between the letters, the spacing between the words, and the spacing between the lines. And see, like, you see how this is cut off here? What we can do is we can move this up. So in case you see anything that looks like it might be cut off, just adjust this to make sure you're seeing everything. Okay, so that was that. You can also put it on a circle. So see, I can mess around with this and play around with that. So these are all things like you just want to play around with. Again, all of this down here. So that is all the lettering options. Now let's go to stitch options. These are when some people tell me that their font is too thin, or they're seeing spacing in between the satin stitches. Let me zoom out and put this back over here. Oh, you know what? Let me copy this. So I'm gonna go to copy, new, paste. There we go. So let's work in a new hoop here since we're doing a lot of font stuff. Okay, sometimes you buy fonts that are not well digitized. Again, this has to do, buy from reputable digitizers. And not to talk bad, because they got great people on Etsy, but just because it's on Etsy does not mean it's guaranteed to be well digitized. Let me just put that little disclaimer on there. There are excellent digitizers on Etsy, but they are not all equal. So do a test stitch if it's somebody the first time you're buying from them and you don't know how their stuff stitches out. But sometimes there'll be spaces in between these satin stitches, and people want to beef up their stitches. Okay, want to make it a little thicker, a little bolder. That's when we can go to stitch And you have some options. I usually don't play. This is increasing the density of the satin, increasing the fill behind the satin. What I like to do is compensation. I will increase the compensation. You see how it got bolder when I did that? So just by messing with the satin is not going to make it bolder. It's going to make it where those satin stitches are closer together. But when I increase the compensation, you see how it's bold, it's getting bolder. Now you don't want to go crazy with it because that would be too much. You see where the stitches are starting to get messed up? I usually go 1 or 2 points up. So that's something you can play with if your fonts are ever too thin. Okay, and then I've not really played with this before, but again, this is how we learn. We play. So these are things that you can play with if you want to. So I think that's everything I wanted to cover in letters and stitches. They always have this notes section. I've never used that, but if you wanted to write some notes on why you did what you did, or how this stitched out after you made those adjustments, you can do that there. And then lastly, something we haven't talked about yet is color. So I want this, and most of us are working on a single needle machine where we're changing the color ourselves. So even though I go, say I want to put this on a bag or something, I really am going to stitch it out pink, but in my program it's showing blue. That doesn't matter because I'm going to load the pink thread on my machine when I'm ready to stitch. But say you want to visualize what it's going to look like a different color, you can change your colors. So here I click it and this pops up. So there's 2 options here, threads and palettes. In palettes, it's going to show you every color that's on this hoop right now. I only have one thing on this hoop. So let's go, if I go back to my mermaid, or let's go to this one. Now I go to color and I click black, palette. This is all the colors that are in this design. But when you go to threads, this is all the colors of this brand. You can pick what brand thread you have. I use Exquisite. So this is showing me every color of thread Exquisite makes. So then you can visualize the particular color that you have. Oops, what am I doing? This one. Okay, so if I wanted to change the color to pink, I could go to threads and then just scroll until I find my pink. You know, one of the pinks I have is this Cabernet color. So I can click that and okay, and now it changes. So it just helps you visualize things. But I think that's good enough right there. So you know what threads, you know what palettes are, you know how to change your brand thread. You can search if you're looking at your spool and you know the number. You can just type in the number and it's going to find it really quick. I don't even know if this is a number. Does it go into it? No, I'm not doing a good job. But you should be able to just search. Maybe I don't, there's a number is not an option. I thought 244 was an option. But you can search for things that way. I'm probably just not entering a number that has that color, a thread that number. And that. So I think that's all what I wanted to cover with BX fonts. Sorry, that was a lot. Thank you so much, Carol. I know you were probably like, your fingers are on fire like that time that my microphone went out last time. That was hilarious, guys. I put fresh batteries in my microphone this week, but 2 weeks ago when we did the live, it was the first time I used my microphone. The mic went out, and Carol was like, she knew exactly what I was thinking and saying and typed it all out. It was crazy to watch. Okay. All right, so everybody's understanding BX fonts. And then the last so I think we went over everything we could there. The next icon is merging. And so we kind of showed that with the mermaid file, how if I wanted to merge, I made my name, but say, you know, I wanted something cute with it, I could go to merge and say I wanted a frame around it. I think I have some cute frames. What do I have here? something with designs by Juju. Oh, now my computer's gonna be slow. Oh, there we go. So say we wanted something pretty. 5 by 7, that should work. So I see it's got the little check mark, and I can hit import. Yay, isn't that pretty? And I can put my name in there. And see how it's a little bit too big? Say, I want it to be big, but I don't want it to touch nothing. So I don't necessarily want to reduce the size down all the way to 0.75, because that's like, maybe that's a little too small. I could go back to the 1 inch, and I can just shrink it a little bit. And then I can center it in my hoop. Nope, that's not what I wanted. Undo. This is center in the hoop. And when you import things, it usually imports automatically centered to the hoop. So I could see just that frame looking at my little black boxes here on my grid lines, it's centered. But if I wanted my name to maybe be a little up a little higher, you could do that. So little things like that we can do. All right. Yeah, the last time was a hoop, Carol says. So fingers were on fire. She was typing so fast. Okay, so that's the last of the icons up top. When you're in the selection mode, these are all your features. We kind of talked about these. This tells you what the size is of the selection you have, what percentage it is of the original. You can lock that so you don't accidentally, or it scales proportionally. You could do that. This is to rotate things. So if I wanted to rotate it, I could do that. If I wanted to flip it vertically or flip it horizontally, we could do that. This is to center to hoop. This is to fit to hoop. So you see it increased it so it fit to the hoop. So I can undo that. We have our alignment tools where you can align things. You can also distribute things. This comes in handy when you don't have a BX font and you only have a PES or some other format font. I could show you that real quick because I think that's a super helpful thing for people. And this will make you realize how important it is that BX is an option when you're purchasing fonts. But I know I purchased some before I knew what a BX font was. And so when I do want to use those fonts, I need those tools. So let's do that real quick. Let's make a new. And I have a new empty hoop. So we're going to go over how to import a font that's not BX. So I'm going to go to merge, and I have to find where this is. These are in my section of stuff that is not yet organized. It just says embroidery. All right, and here we have fonts. Okay, so let's try this one. Okay, so when I do this, this is this font, and it comes, this is what it looks like. Each letter, each symbol, anything is one individual file. You cannot type anything. You have to import each letter, and you'll notice each letter comes in 3 sizes in this particular font. So you have to make sure you're grabbing the right size. So let's do my name real quick. So I have, this is a lower K. If I keep scrolling, I'll find the upper cases. Numbers, now we got upper cases. So I'm gonna do a 1 inch K. See how that's checked? Now I'm gonna hold the command key down. I'm gonna scroll back up, and forgive me, I'm gonna go fast here because I'm just selecting things. Holding the command key, or it could be, I forget what it would be on a Windows, Alt maybe. Now I have the A. I know I need an E in my name. I know I need an I, L, and R. So I have all those selected. Now I'm gonna hit import. Now look at all that jumble of letters. And I can see over here, we haven't gone over this section of the software yet, but I can see here that we have the K is the last thing on the list, and then the R, then the L, I, E, and A. So See how I did not do a great job? That's not lined up. We see that's all kind of funky looking. So what we can do is select it all, and we're going to align it and distribute it. So for align, I want all of the letters to be lined up on the bottom. So I'm gonna hit apply. So you see that how they moved, and now they're all even on the bottom. But say there's more space between this I and the E than there is in the L and the I. So that's going to be where distribute comes in. And I want to distribute the spacing. Is it this one I want to collect? This one? I forget which one it is. I always mess it up. So let's try. I think it's this one. And I want to, you can either select it to go the extent of the selection, so that's this black box, or if I wanted to spread them out to where they're all spaced evenly to the extent of the hoop, which would be the width of the hoop. I want it to be the selection. So let me hit apply. There we go. That was right. Okay, so now close. Now I have an even number of spacing between each letter, and it's all even on the bottom. So that's, oops, that is how I have to make sure they're all selected to move it around, because if I just click one letter, only one letter is going to move. That's how I would work with a file that's a font that's not BX. But now I have the problem of they're all stitched in different orders. So let's fix that. So you have some options. All these things go down, but they don't need to. Okay. I could select, there's two ways. I can select the K and then I can right click and go move first. So now I have K, A. Now I could select this R, click, oops, click, and drag it to where that blue line is under that A. And now my L. Oops. There we go. So now it's in the right order. So it would stitch in the right order now. This gets a little tricky when you have letters like a G or a P or a Y, because then you can't align them at the bottom anymore. So that's when you just got to play around with moving things with your cursor on your keyboard until it looks right. But all of these are reasons why BX fonts are much easier and better to use, because then you can just type them out. So I apologize in advance. This is going a lot slower than I imagined, and we're probably not going to get to everything I wanted to cover, so we might have to do this in a series, especially with enthusiasts and stitch artists. Those might need separate shows all on their own. Okay, Carol, do you have any questions for me? Okay, so I'm just waiting for Carol to see if she has any questions. Thank you, Society. Yeah, I know it's a lot. This program, it's very user-friendly, but with learning any new program, it's just a lot. You know, it's a lot to understand and learn, but once you get the hang of it, you do move quickly, and it's just getting the hang of it. Asking for help, asking questions, and that's what I am here for, so that I can help you with those things. But the main thing is taking your time, play with all the features I showed you tonight. Try opening a file, try adding a name to it, try resizing it, try changing the colors, all those things. Okay. Delia said, should you have the remove hidden stitches checked? Yes, so we went over that in the preference window. You want that checked right here. Diana G wants to know if there's an easy way to change the colors for each individual letter. Yes, so right here we're using a PES file. So in this case, it's super easy to change the color of each letter. And the reason why she's asking this is because when you have a machine like the PE800, it does not cut jump stitches. So when it goes from this K to this A, if they're the same color, it's going to jump and leave a line. And to prevent that jump stitch, if you change this to a different color, even though on your machine you're going to stitch all this out in blue thread and you're not going to change the spool, you know, just doing this, it's going to stop stitching here on the K, and it's going to wait for you to press the button to start the A, and that is right there is going to prevent the jump stitch. So all you have to do is make sure the next color is not the same. So there will be no jump stitch here, there'll be no jump stitch here, but there would be for the rest. But if I change the L to that same, I can go right back to that mint color, and I change the E to that mint color. Now it's going to stop for each letter, and you just have to hit the start button again for each letter on your machine, and you will have no jump stitches between them. But that is a PES. Let's talk about a BX. So with BX, once you type a name, it's all one. It's not an individual file. But you can select individual letters. And you see this little green box? That's going to allow me to select the K alone. So then we can go, and it just has to be different than the others. So I can do this, select the R, and then just get that I. And now it's going to stop for each letter. Okay, let me look back. Wait, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the chat real quick. Okay, so we answered question 13. Okay, Dolls Maria, there's a way you can change the order of the position stitch and the material stitch, and then understand how to know where to put the fabric for the satin stitch. Okay, so yeah, let's move on to applique, because we've done a lot with fonts here. So let's go back to our mermaid. This one, this is our original one. This is still the working file, right? So I can move that mermaid and her stitches go right back. However, if I would try and move the mermaid from the stitch file, if I tried to move her, and I can just move her by selecting all her pieces here. Let's see. Here. Let's find all the pieces of the mermaid to here. Now the mermaid's selected. I think I can move her. But you see when I move her, she still has those holes in her tail because we removed those hidden stitches. That's where, you know, it really changes from when you're working with a stitch file versus a BE working file. Okay, so let's go back to our regular file. So I can move anything around and it's not going to mess up. Okay, but let's focus on the mermaid. The mermaid is an applique, and we see her here. And let's look at all her steps. Lots of steps for her. And I know they're hard to see because the colors here are like nude. It looks like nude colors. Yeah, right here. So I can change this to blue if you wanted. And you'll notice that sometimes when you purchase, let's do a bright color. When you purchase an applique design, there might be some crazy colors here. But the colors that matter are all the satin stitches, all of these parts, right? All of these are for the applique. And what they're called is, and let me change it back because I think I messed up. Okay, so with Lenny Penny, it's already programmed in the computer. So it says applique POS, and that means applique position. So it knows that this is a position stitch. So it's going to stitch this out and that's telling you where to put your material. The next stitch, it says applique material. I call this the tack down stitch. So in between this stitch and this stitch is when you lay down your material. Once it stitches this, it is tacking down your material to your shirt or whatever it is you're embroidering. And then when that's done, that's when you trim it. And now it's gonna, but this has several pieces of fabric that are gonna go on this mermaid. She has her hair, she has her face, and her tail. So there would be 3 different materials placed here. So there are 3 different sets of applique stitches. One set here is for her hair, this set here is for her face, and this set here is for her tail. So that's showing you all those steps. And because of the digitizer, it's already set up to tell you applique position. Sometimes when you do it, that's not on there, it's just going to say a color. If this was not set up as applique position, you can do it. And the way you do it is you select the color, you select applique, and you select the style. So it could be not an applique, you can choose it to be the position, or you choose it to be the material. When you choose it to be the position, I think this might be because I have Stitch Artist, but I can visualize some simulated material there. You see that? I'm not sure if everyone can do that. Then cutting, we won't have time to go over this tonight, but say you wanted to cut your applique material on your silhouette, Cricut, Brother Scanning Cut. This creates a cutting file for you, and it inflates the design to where it's 1.5 millimeters bigger than where the stitch line is. So that gives you a little wiggle room between this placement stitch and the outer edge of the satin stitch. So when you place it down, it will be bigger than the placement stitch, but it won't be poking outside of the satin stitch, if that makes sense. So that's where you can do that. So that's the steps of the mermaid's applique. Once you have all 3 pieces done and trimmed, then it's going to do the satin stitches in the order that the digitizer has it set up. That's going to work the best so that the right things get overlapped. Because you wouldn't want to stitch out her eyes before you did the applique for the fabric, right? Because then it would be underneath. Or like for the hair, for instance, that comes after the skin, because you see that little overlap here with the hair and the skin. So there's a reason they have things in the order they do, is so that they look right when it's all done and stitched. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm scrolling in the chat now. All right. So I apologize in advance, guys. I'm not going to get to cover everything I wanted to cover. I haven't even touched on all the questions in the Facebook post. Oh my goodness, y'all had some really good questions in the Facebook post when I told y'all that we were going to be covering Embrilliance. So for the last couple minutes, let me just quickly touch base on Enthusiast, Stitch Artist, and Thumbnailer. And we'll come back another time and dive in more to those programs. But let me answer a question I get a lot. Can I just get Enthusiast and not Essentials? And I'm going to say no. I want you to look at Enthusiast as an add-on to Essentials, okay? If I only got Enthusiast, I would not have this resizing feature. That is super important. You may not think you need it, but there's going to be silly little things like this that I wanted to tweak the size of the name so it fits in that frame just a little bit better. Things like that. You're always going to use it. Now, I tell you to be careful with it because you don't want to overdo it, but there are some really good digitized fonts that you can stretch out, you know, but I suggest you do a test stitch. And, you know, you could see what the extent of that stretching can be or shrinking can be. But I say rule of thumb where you should never have any trouble is the 20% rule, bigger or smaller. The only time that rule does not work is when you're doing a sketch design. And let me find, I think I have kind of a sketch. One of my favorite ones is from Joy Kate. Let's do that. Let's make a small ABC. Let's bring it down here. So this is, if you look up close, this is a bean stitch, and they have this sketch going here in this little scallop section. Isn't that super cute? Now, watch those pink lines as I stretch it out. Let's see what happens. All right, let's look at this A right here. Now I did stretch it out a lot, but these are the kinds of things that happens with sketch stitches where you see these get messed up. Now, let's tie this into Enthusiast. Look at the scallop too. The scallop is not right. This is not right. This is not right. I could see a lot of things wrong with this. But let me show you. Say you only found one little tiny thing wrong that you wanted to fix. And this also goes back to that question with the font. So say like there was this random stitch that went from here to here and then it started stitching. There's a new way you can get rid of that, and that is if you have Enthusiast. So this is the individual stitch edit button. See all these little points? These are all the spots where the needle goes down. I can move these with Enthusiast. Nope, that's not the one I want. This is the one I want. So now I can try and fix this if I really wanted to. And I had to do this when I was doing my Christmas ornament. I had to resize my little people slightly, and that little resize messed up all these lines. This is where that comes in, and you can try and fix things. You know, you don't want to, this is too much to try and fix, but that's what the individual stitch editor does that I think is pretty awesome. But this is too far gone to try and edit because they have too many things. But that's an example of how I would not try to resize a sketch design very much if possible. And you could see making it smaller, it's all messed up. There's not much you can do with resizing. Okay, we were talking about Enthusiast. So Enthusiast is a great program, and I love it now that I have it. I love that individual stitch editor I've been using a lot. And there's also that knockdown stitch. So say I go to Utility, Knockdown. Okay. It added a knockdown stitch behind Abigail. So say I wanted to put her name on a towel, but the towel was super fluffy or the blanket was super fluffy and you wanted to knock down. This is a super popular thing we've been doing a lot lately. That is a feature of Enthusiast. So it's a great program, but think of it as an add-on to Essentials. Stitch Artist is a digitizing software, and we're going to have to save this for another day, but that's where you can create your own stitches. It's definitely a learning process, but I've super enjoyed the learning process, and now I'm starting to feel a lot more capable to where I feel comfortable teaching you about it a little bit, but we'll have to save that for another time. It comes in 3 levels, and level 1 is enough to get started with, and you will be able to do some basic things. And then level 2 gives you a little bit more options, and then level 3 is superb and it put me on a level where I feel like I can create a design and put it for sale. So I've created, the few designs I've created for sale in my shop have all been on Stitch Artist. But like I said, we'll have to save that for another time. The cool thing about Stitch Artist is that you can purchase level 1 now and play with it, and then when you feel like, okay, now I'm ready I've learned it, I'm ready to do more, you can just pay the price difference between level 1 and level 2 and then get it. And same thing. So I started with level 2 for a couple reasons. I wanted to be able to digitize some SVG files that I had made because I feel comfortable making SVG files. So I imported my SVG files. With level 2, you can digitize those. And then I upgraded from level 2 to level 3, and I just paid the price difference. So that's the flexibility in it. You don't have to feel like you have to jump all in. You can tiptoe from 1 to 2 to 3. And then we went over Thumbnailer a little bit. Thumbnailer is where I can visualize my designs in my, if you have Windows Explorer or Finder for what you call Mac. Now I can see the designs. So this was, what was this, the witch hat that we did? I guess it's all not downloaded, so it's not showing. But let's find something I used recently. Oh, this was that unicorn applique I just showed y'all from Creative Fabrica. So here, now this is what Thumbnailer does. It's showing me all of those previews for all those designs. And it's weird because depending on the format, it'll show different colors. But I could see it's that unicorn design that I loved from Creative Fabrica this past week, and I can see all that. So that is it. I think that's where I'm gonna pause for tonight, and we're gonna say to be continued for more Embrilliance. But yeah, like we can dive deep into all of this stuff, but it takes a while. So Carol, are there any questions that you think would be super helpful for me to answer before we sign off for tonight? Let me know. But I hope everybody has an understanding of the importance of having software, because I know when I got my machine, I was like, oh, now I have to buy software too. And it's like, because, you know, we all go through that shell shock of how much we paid for our machine, and then buying all the supplies, and then, oh, now designs, and oh, now software. Like, it adds up. So that's, I like people to know, like, when you want to get into this hobby, you have to be prepared in the beginning. It's not just the expense of the machine. You need to take into consideration all the things you need to really be able to use this craft and use this machine. So, but the software is great. There's so much that you can do with it. When you're just starting out, Essentials and Thumbnailer is the two things I suggest you get. Once you have those down, Enthusiast is an awesome add-on for that individual stitch editor and the knockdown, the ability to create a knockdown stitch. I'm going to put y'all back over on the camera now. Let's see. So the ability to create that knockdown stitch and that individual stitch editor, those are my two favorite features from Enthusiast, but there's a lot more, and it's too much to we can't go into all of it tonight. That can be a whole nother show by itself. But that's what I did. Like, I graduated from, okay, I'm comfortable with Essentials. I really would like more features, and that individual stitch editor is super cool, that it allows you to do to tweak things just to your liking. Or if you get a digitized font that's like, it's got that crazy line, you can delete it. You know, you could just delete those individual stitches. So that's where you would add on Enthusiast. And then Stitch Artist is a whole new world of creating what you want. And so just look at it in levels like that and move on when you're ready. And I know it's a bit of an investment, but a lot of embroidery softwares out there start at $1,000 and mostly sometimes $2,000. And what Embrilliance did is, like, not everybody wants all that right off the bat. Some people just want to add a name to a design, and that's where, or wants to resize something, and that's where you just get that Essentials section. And then you add on as you need it and not throw in $2,000 right off the bat. And even when you buy all the Embrilliance programs, it's not $2,000, I don't think. So you still make out better, even if you did buy everything at the same time. So that's one of the reasons why I like their software programs that lets you tiptoe in and get what you need when you need it. So I do have links for all those programs down below. I am an affiliate for Embrilliance, So I appreciate if you are interested in purchasing those programs, that if you would use my links, I would very much be thankful. So yeah, so I think that's it. Thank you, Carol, for letting you moderate, girl. Thank you for volunteering to moderate. I appreciate you so much. So yeah, everyone had great questions. I'm so sorry if I did not get to your question tonight. I really am. It's a lot, you know, and I want to help everybody and answer everything, but it's probably going to take me some more time. But we can do this again if this is something y'all are interested in. And yeah, so yeah, everybody's saying, I hope you all have a happy Easter, a great weekend. I cannot wait to eat all my kids' candy. It's going to be fun. I'm actually so here in New Orleans, crawfish on Good Friday is a treat, and usually a tradition, but it's also a treat because it's hard to get your hands on some crawfish. It's super expensive. But my friends made some crawfish pasta, and now I'm gonna go eat some. I haven't eaten dinner yet, so I'm gonna go eat some crawfish pasta, and I hope that y'all all have a great rest of your Easter holiday weekend. If y'all have spring break next week with your kids, I hope you enjoy it. My kids have off a couple days next week. I'm hoping to get in here and make some videos. I did have good news. I did get together with so if you purchase a Brother Persona through me, one of the perks of purchasing through me is you get training with me, and I have an exclusive Facebook group just for those people. And we did our own personal little live last week. I finally figured out the big Durkee 8x14 frame. I don't have it. Here we go. I still have so much stuff I want to talk to y'all about, but I need to go eat. But real quick. So there's a giant new frame for the Persona. It's the 8x14 multi-positionable hoop, which was a little bit of a challenge for me to figure out because I wanted to use Embrilliance, specifically Enthusiast, to split the design and stitch it out to where it comes out perfect and centered, and you can't tell that I stitched out this half and then turned the hoop and stitched out this half. It all aligned up well. Figured that out. We did a live with it in the Persona group this past Friday when we were off of Sip and Stitch. So I want to make a good, nice video for everyone else now to see it. So that's maybe something I could work on Monday if my kids let me. But we will see. But that's it. Let me see. Let's see. I'm looking at the chat. So yes, Carol said everybody's ready to step down and enjoy the weekend. So thank you so much for joining me tonight. If this was helpful for you, please give the video a thumbs up. And if you're not already subscribed, please hit that subscribe button down below. And if you click the little bell icon, it will notify you every time I go live, so that you'll get a little notification knowing that I'm here, even and knowing when I'm late like I was tonight. But thank you. Wolf Guy said, enjoy my mud bugs. Yes, I'm gonna go eat some now. And then maybe I haven't opened my drink. My drink is still empty. I'm still drinking coffee. So I think I'm gonna open my drink and go eat my dinner. So y'all all have a great night. I will see you in 2 weeks, April 16th. We're gonna do a sip and stitch using my smaller machine, my first machine, my baby, the PE 770, which is the same as a PE 800. And I'm gonna show you how to use an embroidery riser with it. So we're gonna do a fun project on that. And you can check out the Sip and Stitch homepage for more information on that when I update it, probably this coming week. So the link for that is down below. But have a great weekend. I will see y'all in 2 weeks. Bye. And it'll take me a minute to figure out how to close this. Bye, guys.